Hey, all right. What are we gonna talk about today while we test out our Zencaster for our new recordings?
Well, I want to know if Henry Cavill will finally get cast as Magento in the new
Magento.
X-Men
Yeah,
series.
you misspelled Magneto and you wrote Magento, who I think is a much better name. It certainly strikes fear into the hearts of the mutants of the world, far greater than Magneto. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's magnets everywhere, but you know it's not everywhere? Men with long white hair in magenta spandex suits.
I think technically it's not even like a real color. I think it's a trick of the brain or something. I read that
Magenta
once,
is?
unless it was
That's
fuchsia.
his power. He tricks the brain. He's like, you think my it's like one of those things on the internet. You think my costume's magenta, but it's blue.
Is it magenta or blue? Yeah, he just goes viral. Oh, um,
All right, so
all right. Before
let's
we get
start
to
it off with
Magento, before
Magento.
we
We'll
get to
start with
Magento,
so Madam Web. That went about how we expected.
Let's try that again.
yeah.
So neither of us have seen it. So let's say we will revisit this subject when it comes onto a streaming service, and I can force you to waste 2 hours of your time
Okay, so
because we
let's talk
have to
about
at
that.
least see it. Can't
I
shit talk it without watching it.
I said I wouldn't, but you said you will,
I know.
and that's where we left off. Because I feel like
I'll tell you what. I'll watch it.
It's just as important to boycott it with your attention as it is with your dollars. So don't give it any money and don't give it any attention. It only encourages them to
Yeah.
continue this.
I will watch it when it finally comes out on a streaming service, and I will be like, I think you should watch it. I'll give it if it's got more than 30% of a cool stuff I think you should see. I'll give it to you. If it's if a third of it is worth watching, I'll let you know.
I will watch it with you in like a shared environment where we watch it together so we can both laugh and rip on it together.
Yes. All right, let's do that.
Yeah.
Right, we'll do that.
Because
But yeah, you know what really made me the most upset to hear was that all the girls in the costumes aren't even part of the actual narrative of the story.
no, that was like the last 40 seconds of the movie that they're in costume.
I would want my money back. I would totally want my money. I'd be like, that's bullshit, dude. I came for chicks in Spider-Man suits. That's the only reason you got me here, because you didn't have the dude in the Spider-Man suit. So
You know
what
what?
other reason are you having me come here?
Okay, so Rotten Tomatoes is usually pretty well, I don't know, regarded or ubiquitously used amongst like a consensus for
Yeah, but
films.
can't people tank things on there? Isn't that the one where people can really tank things
Yeah,
by just
I don't
doing a
use
shitty score?
Rotten Tomatoes, but it is a metric that we can go by. So it has a 12
Right.
out of 100. I actually go by
Oof.
IMDb usually. Like if I see a movie is like over an 8, it generally means it's probably a good movie. I don't know if I've ever watched a movie that's below a 4, maybe even a 5 on IMDb. On IMDb, Madam Web has a 3.8. That is really
Wow.
bad. That is like you have to try to make that bad.
Yeah, I'm so like I don't it's one of those things where I'm like, there's so many things that have to happen to make a movie happen, right? Like there's just how I mean how does
So
nobody stop? It's like the Star Wars episode 1. Like how did
right.
nobody stop and look at this dude and be like, "Yo, this sucks, dude. This is not good." Like
So
you need to rewrite this one more
Marina
time. You
was
need a second draft.
Marina was telling me when I had showed her or we were talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, Madam Web comes out a week or two ago, whatever. And she's like, well, you have to see it. Not necessarily in the theater, but she's like, you have to. I'm like, no. It's like the worst movie that they've ever made in history. I'm like, I'm not watching it. She's like, but you have to. It's your job.
It'd be so hard to
And I'm
beat
like,
Venom.
Thank you.
So she was like, "You got to see it," and I'm like, "I'm not watching it." She's like, "But it's your job. You have to like watch it." I'm like, "No, no, no. Like my job is like that's the beautiful thing about my job. I can pick and choose. I can decide what I want to watch." And I was like, she's like, "But just because it got bad reviews," I'm like, "No, no, it's not that it got bad reviews. This is like universally like under like factually understood as a terrible movie." Like, yeah. So my feeling, like I said before, was I want to boycott it. But you know what? I am willing to watch it if we watch it together, because it may just be one of those movies that's so bad it gains meme status. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's an interesting thing, actually.
There's
Also,
so many
while you're
things in there that I find offensive about the production, like the fact that, like, I don't know, some of their agents like didn't tell them that it wasn't part of the MCU. I mean, that
yeah,
seems
that's
a
what I
little
was gonna say.
deceptive to
Like,
me.
super,
And, you
super,
know,
like
these
deceptive,
people's
and
careers are like, I mean, look, I highly doubt anyone's going to hold it against Dakota Johnson or Cindy Sweeney or any of the other girls in there, that they were in this movie. It's really not their fault, right? I mean,
no, absolutely,
but
and
it
it
is
is
their fault. It is their fault that they didn't do enough research. It means that you're a person who's saying, I want to be in this thing because of what it is, not because of what it means to me, right?
sure, yeah, like
So,
yeah. If you got
Dakota
cast
Johnson
in,
she couldn't name three Spider-Man movies, right?
yeah, if you
How are
got
you in a
cast
Spider-Man movie?
in
Can't name Spider? Yeah.
if you got cast in any sort of whatever it may be, a Marvel movie, a DC movie, like there's so much source material for you to research and just check on to be like, oh, who is this character? Like, how can I get into character? And sure, maybe she's at fault. She did fire her whole team. That's what I heard. She fired her agent and her whole team for this because
For putting her
it,
in
and it,
this shitty bomb ass movie. And
well, I
like,
think also, like you said, there was the deception of it, which was like, hey, you want to be in a Spider-Man movie? Like, Spider-Man, isn't that Marvel? Like, yeah, it's a Marvel
yeah.
movie. And, if somebody did, convince her that she was going to be in a Marvel movie and she sees,
Or not even convince her, just
Robert Downey
not tell her that
Jr.
it's not. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Iron Man, she sees, Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans
Yeah.
and Scarlett Johansson and, all these amazing actors, amazing characters, a $30 billion plus franchise. And it's like, yeah, I want to join that. And
Yeah. No, it's just, like, look, I will always say that the number one thing is the writing and having good taste. Everything else can seriously, everything else is interchangeable. Your diversity quota, the director that you pick, you know what I mean? Like the directing is easy compared to writing these things. You have to be in the brain of both the audience and the creators and still maintain the ability to pay respect to the property that you're dealing with. You're a visitor there. You're a visitor as a writer, as a director, as an actor. You're a visitor to this property. Spider-Man's going to be around long after you're dead. So your job is to not try and control it. Your job is to try and play in the sandbox without dragging a giant shit through it,
yeah.
which is what they did, and that's it.
All right. Well, when it comes out on streaming, then we will have a.
We'll watch it.
All right, let's move on. So there was
All
some
right.
other news that came out this last week. Rumors, probably some. I think actually from the source, like a pretty respectable source of accurate rumors, that Henry Cavill is in talks with Marvel to come into the MCU, and what as who or when, who knows? But
I
uh,
would love it to
I
be
thought
Doctor Doom.
I thought it was going to be Sue Storm, but they already spoiled.
I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. But we know it's
Sounds
not
good.
because she was already officially cast, so it's not going to be Sue Storm. So Doctor Doom could be cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
Doctor Doom.
Cyclops is like another rumor, which is
Cyclops. He's a very tall, older man now. I mean, you're starting your X-Men out very old if you do that, right?
yeah, which is I'm not against that. I mean, he could play a great Cyclops, like not not
Anyone can play a great
1960.
Cyclops is the most boring character in the entire X-Men universe.
Oh, that's not true at all. He's
Angel and Iceman are more exciting than he is. He's the laser beam eye guy.
it's not laser beams; they're portals into another dimension.
Are they?
Hmm. Yeah.
What?
and they're portals into
When did
another
they
dimension.
establish that?
I don't know, a few weeks ago. No,
Was that a few weeks ago?
I think he's actually
Yeah.
one of the
So
cooler X Men characters, and I think that they did him no justice in the previous X Men movies. They kind of like screwed him over. I think that I mean, he had like a side role, and I love James Marsden as an actor. He's awesome, and I
yeah.
think just what they gave him was crap. And then he probably was just like, I'm over this, but I'll come back for whatever to film to film my scenes. And they just like killed him in the beginning of X-Men 3. I mean, they didn't do him any justice.
Well, they had to make they had to share more screen time for my favorite person, Mystique.
Shang-Chi. Oh,
Mystique.
oh, you
No,
don't like her
Mystique.
either?
Oh my God, that was the worst. Look, Jennifer Lawrence's agent should be given a statue for how good she is or how good he is, whoever they are, her agent, because they literally wrapped the entire X-Men franchise around Jennifer Lawrence and her character Mystique, a third-rate loser character in all of the X-Men. And they wrapped the entire four more movies around her. There's parts where she's literally spitting wisdom to Professor Xavier, like, Professor, what you really need to do. Who the fuck's the professor around here? Like, she's literally dropping knowledge bombs on Professor and Magneto. Like, I'm like, when did Mystique become the Galactus of the Fox X-Men universe? Like, why is she
Well,
important at all?
I think you haven't like read or kept up with X-Men in a couple decades, because she's actually like a very significant and very popular character. She's not like
Probably because of those shitty movies. They were
X-Men
like, oh,
2.
everybody loves Mystique. No, no, everybody does not love Mystique.
No,
It's just
I
that
think
Jennifer
everybody does love
Lawrence's
Mystique. Only
agent.
you didn't like Mystique.
No, nobody likes Mystique. And nobody likes Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique.
Thank you for your consideration.
And I don't think Jennifer Lawrence even liked doing Mystique.
I didn't. I like Jennifer Lawrence and I like Mystique. I didn't think Jennifer Lawrence. She wasn't like the best Mystique, but she did great with the character she
Oh,
had.
it's not
She
hard
was.
to be the best Mystique. She's a boring character.
Oh,
Unless you're Jennifer
oh
Lawrence's
man, this
agent
is
and you
gonna.
make her the greatest
This is
character ever.
a deep. This is probably why you never read X-Men comic books. Are they, except for Apocalypse? Is anybody not boring? Cyclops is boring. Mystique is boring.
Well, Wolverine's kind of interesting. Magic is interesting.
You do like Magic.
Magneto is interesting. The Juggernaut is interesting. Let's see. Cable is kind of interesting. Archangel is interesting. Angel, not interesting. Archangel, interesting. Beast, not really interesting. Dark Beast, kind of interesting.
A few minutes later.
Mr. Sinister is pretty interesting. Rogue is pretty interesting. Kitty Pryde is pretty interesting. I do not like what's his name, the what's his name guy with the throwing the playing cards fella.
Gambit.
Gambit, don't like him. Yeah, don't like that guy. Don't like him. Don't like a lot of them.
Yeah, clearly.
Oh, I like. Well, let's see. There's Jubilee. I like Boom Boom more than I like Jubilee. I know that's an unpopular take.
All right, already! But then why do people hate us?
People fear what they do not understand.
That's a very unpopular opinion that I like Boom Boom better than. But like a girl who chews bubblegum and has big glasses and then runs around in a pink spandex uniform is just funny to me. But the other one who looks like a knockoff Robin from The Dark Knight Returns is not interesting to me.
All right, so give me a yay or a nay on a few of these characters.
Okay.
Gold balls.
Yay.
Beak.
Yay, yay.
I'm done.
Dude, wait. Wait, look. Even Grant Morrison made a decent Beak. I mean, Beak is more interesting than Mystique.
It was originally
You
Miss
just need a
Beak,
good
but
writer.
they
Miss
Miss
Beak.
Beak. So we'll have another discussion about why you hate the X-Men, and in another episode we
It's
can.
not that I hate them. I just like
You hate all of them.
I hate a good portion of them.
Yeah, they're all boring except for Magic and Magento
Gateway.
and Beak
Oh,
and Gateway.
Gateway. I like Gateway. I like
um,
Gateway.
you like ecstatics. That's what you like.
I love
Um,
ecstatic. I love ecstatic. I got a
so
soft spot for ecstatic.
anyway, the point is that I think Cyclops is a great character, and I think that they didn't do him any justice in the movies, and they can really expand on that character or like delve deep into that character. Maybe Henry Cavill at 40 years old is a little too old to start that, but like if they were doing like Avengers versus X-Men, like if they do, if Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty becomes an Avengers versus X-Men movie, and we don't go into like first class, like X-Men are just starting, and Professor X is finding mutants and organizing a team. But if we go in to an already established team where like heck, maybe Professor X is already dead, and like Cyclops has been like, leading the team or whatever, like Henry Cavill will be awesome. Just like they're kind of
Well,
showing in
to me,
the X-Men 97 trailer, like X-Men Professor X is dead and we have Cyclops leading the team. And like that version of Cyclops, I could totally see as Henry Cavill. Maybe we get him
the
for
only
one
way you,
movie.
the only way you can get Cyclops to not be a cuck and be a good character is to actually make him the leader of the team. Like you can't do the whole thing with Storm's the leader or Professor Xavier's there and he's a subordinate. You either have to make him the leader of the team or he has nothing. He can't, he's not a strong character on his own. But if you make him the Boy Scout and you make him the leader of the team, well then he has a purpose, right? He has a motivation and he can take on the weight of the protection of the team. You know what I mean? He could be like, look, everybody's here's lives depends on me and my decision making, and I'm a strategist and I've taken what Professor X is teaching me, and I can use that to lead these people. But if you make him a guy who's just under the tutelage of the professor, well then he's second banana, constantly being like usurped or joked at and disregarded by Wolverine. Um, so he doesn't have any leadership positions. Storm winds up looking like she's a stronger character because she's far more regal, far more intelligent, and so he gets lost in the shuffle. So unless you're going to make him the leader of the team, that's the only way you can have Cyclops not just be a boring cuck, like a guy who's just like in the
Well, yeah, he should be the leader of the team. The interesting thing is that actually, like, if they do go that route and he's a leader of the team and he's played by Henry Cavill, now he's basically kind of in the Superman role again, where he's the Boy Scout, like, standing almost like, yeah, the Superman Captain America, like, I'm the leader
Yep.
standing for everything that like, or everything this team stands for is like his, you know, his beliefs and whatever.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
he needs to do something different than that. But in Avengers versus X-Men, and so that's where the Phoenix comes in and inhabits Cyclops and a couple others, and like they kind of go rogue
Oh
and
yeah.
try to like take over type thing. And so if they make him like kind of turn, then like I think it's just Henry Cavill needs to be given a chance to like play other roles, not just Superman. So I don't think he should just be Hyperion or whatever, I don't think he should just be Cyclops. He should be like, yeah, maybe Doctor Doom, maybe Magento.
I like him as Doctor Doom. I don't know how old he fares against Pedro Pascal. I don't know what their age differences are.
Maybe he'll be Galactus. I know all the rumors are
Wait,
that they're
who?
trying to get a Henry Cavill. All the rumors are they're trying to get Javier
You don't
Bardem to
need
be
you don't
Galactus.
need just a voice. You don't need a human being to play Galactus. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? He shrinks himself down so he can walk amongst man. Silly.
They the rumor is that there's, I don't know, the rumor I read was some female that they're trying to get for Silver Surfer.
I
Anya
think I
Taylor
think that would
Joy.
be amazing. Okay, so why would they want her as Silver Surfer? I don't get that. First of all, she's already been my favorite character in all of the X-Men. So, like, I can't get her back as that character.
Wait, who is she in the X-Men?
She played Magic.
When?
She played Ileana in the New Mutants movie, or the New Mutants movie.
Did they even ever release that movie, or was that just like
Did you ever watch it?
No.
Yeah, Wolfsbane's in it. Why? It's not bad. It's not that bad.
That's not what I heard. Didn't it go straight to VHS?
Oh my God. No, there was no VHS.
It went straight to VHS in 2021.
I think it was in the theater. I thought it was in the theater because I think I went and saw it in the theater.
Really?
Yeah, I think I went and saw it in the theater.
She was making great magic. Yeah. Gotcha. So the takeaway is you prefer the New Mutants over Mystique, Jennifer Lawrence, all the X-Men movies, and anything with Cyclops. Got it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right.
And Madam Web.
Okay,
and
so
Henry
speaking
Cavill
of X-Men, I guess it's like a week or two away, I think. I don't know when X-Men 97 is coming, but the trailer came out like 2 weeks ago, and I got super pumped for that. I was obsessed with that show when it came out because I was the right age, right? It came out, I was like 13 or 14 years old. I was super into X-Men. That's how I got into reading comic books, and to see an animated show, and it was so much fun. And I used to tape it every Saturday morning. And so I don't know, for them to bring it back and actually continue like that show, not just like, oh, we're doing another, like, it's interesting because, if you want to go watch a Spider-Man cartoon, I don't know, it's kind of like trying to go watch a Transformers cartoon. There are so many of them that it's like you can't even keep track. Like, which year was this? Which series was this? Batman too. Like after the animated series, there's a dozen different,
like 8 different Batman series. You're right.
Yeah, the Brave and the Bold, the Batman, Batman, whatever, like Batman and Friends, Batman and Spider-Man. I don't know. And the X-Men hasn't had a cartoon since X-Men cartoon back in
you're
the
right.
90s.
I think they made an appearance in a couple of other cartoons, like maybe a Spider-Man or maybe a
there was
Avengers,
one crossover
or maybe
with
even
the Spider-Man show, the Spider-Man animated series, but so for them to bring it back and kind of continue where the story left off, I'm just excited for that. And then when they dropped the trailer,
I'm excited.
It was just like epic. I'm so excited to watch it. Now I know that was you never watched it, right?
I did not watch it. I was an animation snob. So, I like Batman, the animated series. And if you couldn't come close to that, you weren't going to get my attention. Plus, having studied a lot about the whole history of animation and seeing, what's achievable, I didn't like the style. It was very inconsistent. Like you could tell it was hastily drawn. So like characters would look inconsistent, proportions would be different scene to scene. So it really bugged me out. Not because of the quality of the content, because I've heard from everybody it is a nicely truncated version of the history of the X-Men, right?
Totally.
So it did for the X-Men the same thing Batman the animated series did for 100 years of Batman history, or 80 years of Batman history, or 70, or whatever it was made. And they streamlined it down to a pretty decent story that kind of made it real tight. And they did the same thing for the X-Men. So, kudos to them for the story content. But like, as an animation snob, I was like, man, those characters, like, they would turn and it would literally just be like 3 animation turns, like, and I'd be like, oh, that was, you didn't even try and in between that one. Like there was no in betweens in there. Like,
interesting.
Like the character was just like, they were like profile and then 45 degrees and then flat on, and then they just start walking. And I'm like, oh, that's terrible. That's really bad animation. So
we'll have to see how the new one looks, if it looks any better.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be good. I'm certain it will be.
Now your
I'm certain it will be better.
All-time favorite X-Men storyline was actually birthed in the animated series, a 2-part story that inspired
That's correct.
Age of Apocalypse. That's where Age of Apocalypse came from, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
I would have thought the other way around.
Exciting to me, because I would have thought the other way around too. Like if you had asked me 2 days ago before you told me that, before I found out, I would have been like, absolutely not. There's just no way that came from the
Well,
idea of the
you should watch
cartoon.
those.
But
It's
that's
only a
great.
2-part episode. You should watch those episodes.
Yeah, I'm not against watching it now. I mean, like it's like it was just at the time I was like, man, you got Batman the animated series over here, and then you've got whatever the hell this is over here. It's bright and garish, and the
Now
characters
that
have these
you're
corny accents, like Rogue just sounds stupid, and Gambit sounds stupid. They're just like, it's like, hey, Shuri, what's his name? He's like, hi, sugar. Like, fucking ridiculous. So absurd. Like they're not even trying to be serious. Like they're like this is a cartoon for kids.
I mean, they didn't get Mark Hamill or Kevin Conroy, but
That's what I'm saying. Like, you got some other people. They were like, what is this character? I don't know. Just do the dumbest, loudest, most stereotypical accent you can possibly do.
All right. Well, when the new one comes out, watch it without your glasses. I'm sure it'll, brainer fill in the blanks, whatever, the interpolation between frames, and it'll look much
Oh
better for
wait,
you.
I'm not talking about something that only a animation snob would care about. I mean, it's just poor animation. It's cheaply done, but it's nostalgic at this point, so I'll watch it. But
I
yeah,
gotta see.
my issues are all technical. They're technical issues. They're not really artistic issues. They did a good job.
So I don't know if this would have been debunked or whatever, but a lot of people were thinking, and speculating that the X-Men that we've been seeing in the movies are the ones from the X-Men animated universe, because all of their costumes have been the same. Wolverine and Deadpool with the yellow and blue
Right.
suit, Beast with at the end of the Marvels with the glasses and the white lab coat, and Professor X in the the gold hover chair. And every time they come on screen, you always hear the animated theme song. So the showrunner actually
Right.
came out and said there's no connection to the MCU, but maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I
Well,
think
like
that'd
I
be cool.
was said when we had this conversation a couple days ago, I said the same thing. I was like, look, they can just say whatever they want to try and keep the trolls and the internet speculators from coming up with whatever they want. But like, it's like I was saying, if they get like a good writer and a great directing team, like let's say James Gunn comes back and says, hey, the only way I'll come back is if you let me direct the next X-Men movie. And he says, I want to use the X-Men 97 team and I want it to be exactly part of that X-Men universe. They're going to be like, okay.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like, no, the director of the cartoon said absolutely in no way, so we can't go back on that. Of course not. They'll just be like, sure, whatever. So right now, it's easier to say that because you'll get in less trouble. Because like, if all of a sudden they start showing the cartoon and it's great, everybody's going to be like, oh, it's great. And then they'll be like, yes, and we planned that all along. So that way we could tell you that all those little sprinklings you saw of the X-Men characters in Doctor Strange and Deadpool is actually them, and they are coming into our universe, and it's them, right? But
Sure.
if everybody goes, this show is terrible, and I hate it, and it's woke, and I can't stand it, and I don't ever want to see anything like this again, they'll be like, yeah, absolutely, you're absolutely right. It's fucking terrible, and so are all the Fox X-Men, and we're going to reboot the entire franchise, and let's pretend that this X-Men 97 cartoon never happened, and none of these things ever happened, and when Deadpool ends, we're just going to have a whole new set of X-Men. So we've given you what you want.
All right, well, you said it. I hope that James Gunn comes back to direct an X-Men movie led by Henry Cavill's Cyclops as the leader, Gold Balls, Beak, Gateway,
Gold Balls, Beak, Cassandra,
Mystique.
Kane, Mystique. Oh no, with Jennifer Lawrence returning as Mystique.
And what was
what? Jennifer
what was the best
Lawrence's
part?
agent is so good that I wouldn't be surprised that you couldn't get her to conquer the entire new X-Men Marvel Universe MCU thing again. I don't know who her agent is.
The most important part. I want them to finally do the Phoenix Saga right, but
for the third time.
Instead of her dying in whatever way we've seen because of the Phoenix Force or whatever, instead she trips on a pothole and she doesn't have time to sidestep it or move a log in front of it, and Jean Grey just falls, and that's the end of her.
That's it. She just dies. What happened to Jean Grey? I don't know. You mean one of the most powerful mutants in the world? What? Well,
Let's
all
just
right.
sign off.
We have achieved nothing. We have set no one on the right path. We have not taught Marvel or Fox or Sony anything at all about how to do their jobs better than they should.
We have 0 issues about it. So,
but we have zero issues. Actually, this one we had a show. The goal is to get to an episode where we have 0 issues, because we had a lot of issues with a lot of things.
There's a few issues.